Big time banger coming up this weekend at 185 pounds, replacing Maki Pitolo. We have Gregory Rodrigues, and man, is he coming in at a good time. I like this fight almost more than the original booking, taking on Dusko Todorovic. And Matt, holy smokes. I mean, for Gregory Rodrigues, you look at it, and this is a guy that a lot of people probably counted out. His last loss was on Contender Series. He got finished by Jordan Williams, who punched his ticket to the UFC. So what does Rodrigues do? He doesn't sit there and slouch. Goes back to LFA, and a little bit over a month and a half, almost 2 months ago, he fights Almatavao. And you might go, Craig, well, you've talked some smack about Almatavao here in the past, and yes, I have, but he finished him. That's a decent win. You finish a guy like that, that's great. And then on short notice, he fights Josh Fremd over with LFA for the middleweight belt, and it was vacant. Think of all the great middleweights they've had in LFA that have held that belt. Brendan Allen being one of them. Eric Anders being another one. So many great... Marcus Perez, another one. Like, we could go on all day. No, he was at welterweight. We could go on forever. But for Rodrigues, Robocop, he's coming in here with a head of steam. Again, that fight that he took... Now, listen, it wasn't 2 days and 16 hours ago. But yeah, it was just last weekend. So now he's going to fight again this week. Taking on Dusko. I mean, holy smokes, it's a tough fight, but if anybody can do it, maybe it's him?
This is going to be a very, very fun fight. And with Dusko, I don't really know where to start. I guess I'll just start where he's not what I thought he would be, and I'm going to put a lot of stock into his last performance just because I kind of have to. Dusko is one of those fighters who he can either fix the issue he had in his last fight in one camp, or it's going to be an issue for him his whole entire career. Because in his last fight, he kept on getting hit by the exact same punch over and over and over and over and over again. He got hit by so many overhand lefts that it's the last time I've seen that many techniques just land over and over and over again. It was odd because you would think, okay, you get hit by it once, you'd kind of adjust afterwards. But Dusko has this weird habit of he pulls out of exchanges with his chin very high up and his hands very low down. And the best example I can give to you is Edson Barbosa when he fought Justin Gaethje. Think of when Edson was trying to circle outside of the power of Justin Gaethje, and Justin Gaethje throws that big hook that meets Edson as he's circling out. That's kind of the perfect punch to land on a guy with his hands down, but that's how Dusko pulls out of every single exchange. And if we're really going to give Gregory Rodrigues his flowers, he does have really good power in his hands and with both hands too. He's good from the orthodox and from the southpaw, or at least he has good power from both sides. And when you're fighting a guy like Dusko, who, yes, I think Dusko is the more well-rounded guy on the feet. I think he's the more, I should say, polished striker out of these two. But the fact that Dusko has such a big issue with his defense on the feet, he's going to give a lot of guys who maybe technically aren't on his level a chance to beat him every time he steps into the cage.
And I mean, if you look at it for Dusko, I mean, gets the win on Contender Series over Canadian Teddy Ash in a fight that was back and forth. They were both bloody. Great fight. He beats Daquan Townsend in a fight that wasn't overly close when it happened. He beats Michel Pereira to land over on Contender Series. And then he loses to Puna Soriano. And again, we didn't give Puna the credit we should have. And he came into the comment section after that and let us know it. But, I mean, yeah, it's really weird because he just totally abandons all striking defense for the offense. And he really likes to march opponents down. And against Rodrigues, you not only have to worry about the striking, but the jiu-jitsu. And this is a guy, again, he was a plus 190 underdog in that fight on May 21st. Matt, we're filming this, and we're
kind
what?
Of wild.
We're what, the 28th?
7?
No, we're the 31st. So, okay. Tapology has their dates wrong, but really it is a quick turnaround for the man representing Brazil, coming out of Sanford MMA. And I watched an interview, and this was an interesting one. Do it if you have the chance over on Facebook with Gabriel Gonzalez, MMA Uncaged. The reason why Rodrigues came to the States was because his friends from Brazil wanted to open a church and they needed help. So he's like, yeah, okay, I'll help you out. Then he started training at King's MMA, got to work in with Cordero. Then he went to Florida and boom, like Bob's your uncle. It's kind of crazy to hear that story. I don't love the loss to Jordan Williams because, again, like I've seen Jordan Williams have a halfway competitive fight against Kazula Vargas at Tachi Palace. And then I've seen him lose to Nasruddin Imavov, who's a good fighter. Like, it's really hard to tell.
And this is my issue. I don't want to put too much weight into the loss to Puna Soriano from Tudorovic, because this is the thing. He might have just looked bad in that fight, and maybe he comes out in this fight, he's shored up some of those defensive holes. He does have the good combinations. He does have the aggressiveness that we really enjoy. And maybe he goes out there and knocks out Rodrigues in the first 3 minutes. There could be a world where the hand speed and just the combinations of Tudorovic give Rodrigues a lot of trouble. This fight for me comes down to, can Gregory catch Tudorovic when he's in the pocket, or can Rodrigues make this an MMA fight? Because if he can incorporate the takedown, or at least make Tudorovic think about the takedown, lower the already low hands of Tudorovic, then maybe he could catch him with a big hook on the exit in one of these exchanges. But for me, this is a fight where I'm going to look stupid no matter what I say, because if I say Dusko Todorovic is going to win, he's probably going to get caught by a big overhand and then submitted on the ground. And if I say Rodrigues is going to win, Tudorovic's probably going to go in there, hit him with one blitz, and knock him out up against the cage. It's one of those fights that really is just that volatile going both ways.
Dusko open a -250. He's a -165 favorite. Rodrigues open a +210. He's now a +135. We have a look over on Tapology. 1,171 total votes. 83% going with Dusko. 72% by knockout for the 17% that have Rodrigues. 77% by knockout. So you're probably going to get a finish. Maybe you're looking at the over-under 2.5, 1.5. That's the interesting one to go with. I mean, I don't like the striking defense of Tudorovic, but at the same time, Rodrigues is coming in on such short a notice. I'll side with Tudorovic, who was getting ready for a striker anyway, but I have a really tough time with this one.
And I kind of default on the same thing. I had really high hopes for Tudorovic before his last performance. So if I do take out his last performance, I would assume Tudorovic would beat Rodrigues. But the fact that his striking defense was so poor does leave a little bit of doubt in my mind. But at the end of the day, I do have to agree with you, and I do have to pick Dusko Todorovic. I do think his hand speed really is the edge in this fight. But again, if I woke up on Sunday morning because I somehow missed these fights, and Gregory Rodrigues laid it overhand right into a guillotine, I would not be surprised in the least bit.
Pop and Popcorn both going with Serbia's own. Absolutely love the fight. Big time card. 2 heavyweight fights up at the top. You're not going to want to miss them. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, we always say.
Let's get into it.